candidates, because I've been telling you since, that even if you don't like a candidate, look at all the candidates and ask yourself, which of these candidates will do the least damage? Vote, because it is your civic duty. Every vote affects almost 7 people, 6.7 people. That's the cost of your vote. Every vote affects the GDP. So it's your civic duty to go out tomorrow and vote. Don't be afraid of election violence. Let me give you some context. We have over 170,000 polling units. So even if you double the violence of 4 years ago, it will only affect 1 in every 170 polling units. So you have about half of 1% of a chance of it affecting your unit. Leave all the noise they're making online and, doing all kinds of propaganda here and there. You are safe. Go out, go vote. And guess what? The larger the turnout at your unit, the more intimidated the thugs will be. Oh yes. Face they fear face now. Crowd they fear person now. It is say now only when you want speak in front of big crowd, fear they catch person. Also when you want do bad thing, fear go catch you because plenty crowd dey for there. These bad guys, then they fear crowd. So come out in your numbers and vote. Vote for whoever you want. In fact, all of you supporting your different candidates, stand together at the polling units so that the thugs cannot face you. Put aside who you support. Support each other so that each of you can vote safely for whoever you want to vote for. This is your chance to decide the direction that your country takes for the next 4 years. How old are you now? How old are you going to be in 4 years' time? How do you want things to look in those 4 years? Tomorrow, the decision starts. The journey starts. 1 million Lagosians listening to this show. I hope that all of them, every single one of them, can actually go out and vote, because we've seen the number of PVCs collected in Lagos, and 6.8 million. 6.8, 6.4, I'm not sure, but over 6 million PVCs were collected here in Lagos. I'm going to have to look at the numbers so that I'm sure what exactly I'm saying. Brilliant stuff. Thank you for tuning into the show today. Let's talk about tomorrow's election. That's the biggest story in the world. Because usually you know that every Friday we let Nigerian stories rest, right? And we bring you Big 3 Global Edition, right? All over the globe, everyone's talking about the election of the largest democracy in Africa. From 3:45, Ayobe will be here for ideas. At 4 o'clock, we'll have a bit of fun. The segment that we started this year, the Hard Facts Awards, where you and I pick the most memorable stories of the week. So if you want to have a good time with me, make sure you're still here by 4 o'clock when we bring you the Hard Facts Awards. On Ayes and Nays, let's talk about the law-making process. After that, Ifanyi, Sam and Dexter will bring you music and moments. Expect news, business and sports at the top of the hour every hour. But let's get started with today's Big 3. Lagos, I'm Sandra Ezekwesili. And these are your hard facts.
The Big 3 Global Edition on Hard Facts.
What's the biggest story of these elections? Is Nigerian politics maturing? Have INEC, the parties and the voters done their best to prepare? Those are your Big 3 Global Edition. Lagos, let's talk. Like I said, every Friday at 3, we let Nigeria rest. Usually, we let Nigeria rest and we take a look at global stories, right? However, like I also said, the biggest international story this week, the Nigerian story. So we no feel let Nigeria rest today. We cannot let Nigeria breathe. Who they breathe? Who they? Not the voters, not tomorrow. Tomorrow is the general election. There's no bigger story on earth. Tell Macron that I said sorry. Tell the UFOs that I said We'll find out about them next week. Tell Elon Musk that he can sack his workers in peace, because today I'm only looking at Nigeria's elections. That's it. Joining us to look at Nigeria's elections, my guest, as usual, on the Big Three Global, Chief Andy Oboforbo. Welcome to the show. Good to have you here.
Thanks, Sandra.
Lagos, I also want to hear from you. 0700-993-993-993. That's for men. Women, call me on 01465-7190. Right, so these are the ground rules for calling me today. Don't campaign for anybody. I take God and beg you. See, I heard that NBC people are sleeping in their office so that they will catch anybody that will campaign on the radio. They slept overnight with mats. So people, when they wait you for their office with mats, no be people will go enter their trap. So Lagos, please, if people like that I have job, if people like that I'm coming on air every day and I'm talking to people about different things, and people want me to keep coming on air, you don't want Nigeria vote to shut down. Joe, don't come here and say, hey, tomorrow I'm going to go vote for my candidate. Mba. Don't be but just so that if you're doing that, it means you're shutting us down. It means you are making sure that all of us will be fired. All of us will not have work tomorrow. So please, in the mighty name of Jesus Christ, amen. Don't do it. I beg. Okay. That's the only ground rule for today. Whatever we're talking about, you want to share your thoughts, that's fine. But don't campaign. Ejo. Biko. What's the Hausa version of please? Chief, how do they say please in your language?
Pasisi.
Pasisi. Pasisi. Lagos. Pasisi. I don't know how to speak Hausa. I would have spoken Hausa. Any other language that you know, please WhatsApp me how to say please in that language, so I'll say it on the show. Thank you very much. Now, Chief, let's dive in. Tomorrow, Nigeria chooses their president, senators, reps, members. You have taken part in lots of elections. You've taken part in lots of elections as a voter, as a supporter, as a political operative, as an observer, as a candidate, safe. So you're the perfect person to have on the show today. In what ways would you say 2023 is different from the previous elections in Nigeria?
Yeah, I think the big differences I see a lot more. This was the campaign season of the fact check. These days, candidates couldn't just come and say anything. Somebody will say they're lying, and then somebody else will go and fact check, and somebody else will go and verify. So that was that was happening quite a bit this time around in a way you did not see in previous time. And that doesn't mean that some candidates weren't telling like straight up lies, but I think we saw a lot more pushback on that and a lot more readiness from the media and the public to ask questions about what the candidates were saying and the veracity of those things. That's one. I think another big change, and that's connected to that, we saw more of an issues-based campaign than we usually see, and we saw less of the theatrics that we often see. I don't, at least with the presidential candidates, I don't recall seeing any of them, the cliche now, we're asking is any of them roasting corn? We've not seen any of them roasting corn. Nobody has time for corn right now. We've also not seen them going to tie hair and do all of those things. So it was a very, not 100% issues-based campaign, but at least there was less of the theatrics that we normally see. Then we also saw, I think, in my opinion, we saw and I think all these things are connected. There's a lot of youth enthusiasm, young people's enthusiasm this election cycle and involvement at all in various capacities. And I think that has translated to a very different energy in this campaign season. So these are some of the things that jump out for me, like on every step of it. And I think people talk about 2015 as a great social media election, but I think 2023 is the election where Nigerian social media has come into its own in a lot of ways. I think you see what's happening on, not just Facebook, which has always been there, and not always, but been there for the last few cycles, but with Twitter, and then even with TikTok, you're seeing a lot more use of social media platforms, both as a way to, push narratives, etc., but also as a springboard for mobilization and organization offline. And so I think that's been a very big thing.
Okay. Now let's talk about INEC and INEC's preparations, right? This is the largest number of registered voters that Nigeria has ever had. Also, the largest number of people who are ready to vote in the sense that they have their PVCs. Some credit INEC for this. Because INEC has improved some of their processes. Some credit the CSOs, some credit some candidates, some credit the voters themselves. How do you share the credit?
Yeah, I think I push the credit in the opposite direction, like start from the last group you mentioned and work our way back to the first. So what I mean by that is like a lot of credit has to go to voters themselves. We've seen a lot more enthusiasm, a lot more interest in the process, a lot more of a sense of I can drive this. I no go agree. You know, are you an INEC? Are you an INEC? Come out of there, honorable. You know, you have things that are happening all over the place, and these are just regular Nigerians doing that. So I think, I have to start there with a big toilet for them, even though it's not a national anthem playing. I have to just start there and hail them for that. Then, of course, some candidates have also, and some parties have also taken the reins and also pushed and driven and put pressure on INEC and also helped organize their own and their own supporters to get registered. Then, below that, the CSOs, NGOs, great work. I see a lot of them working to educate and sensitize. And then, yes, INEC has also played their part. I mean, INEC's a bit of a mixed bag in these kinds of things, but definitely all credit to INEC for putting up the, for doing the continuous voter registration exercise, for putting up the portal that allows people to look up their registration status and challenge or ask questions and do. Credit to INEC for learning lessons, even though a bit late in the process, and moving PVC collection from, LGA level down to the wards. Credit to them for doing that. There's credit all around, but I give most of the credit to everyday Nigerians.
INEC has also come under a lot of fire. There were problems with underage voters, problems with PVC collection, problems now with PVC inside bush. How do you view some of these criticisms and lapses?
I think every single criticism INEC has received in this campaign cycle is well deserved. In the same way that every single item of praise INEC has received is well deserved. Like I said, it's been a mixed bag. I think definitely INEC doesn't, most of the time, in most things, INEC can't be said to be very voter-oriented or voter-centric in the way they design their processes. I'm speaking as a product manager now.
Okay.
When you're building, a system, whether it's a software system or online platform or just a process, a business process, you are thinking always about your primary customer and saying, is this easy for them? How easy is this for them? How useful is this for them? And when you think about everything that goes into registration, continuous registration, PVC collection, you notice that there are lots of friction points for voters, even the voting process itself. And so you have to ask yourself that who inside INEC is making decisions, and at what point, if at all, is anybody asking, okay, this process we've designed, how easy is this for voters? How well, even the idea of the deadlines, and even the idea that, okay, you have, because here's the thing with INEC. INEC knows the number of people who have registered to vote, right? They know the number of people on the register. So let's say they know that it's 93 million registered voters. INEC knows that out of the 93, let's say, I'm just going to throw out some random numbers here.
Okay.
So let's say that INEC knows that it's 90 days to the election, and there's 90 million uncollected PVC. I know that didn't happen. I'm just giving you an example. Then that means if we're 90 days to the deadline. So INEC knows that if we want 100% collection before the deadline, we're going to need 1 million people to collect their PVCs each day.
Right.
Then that means there has to be at some level in INEC somebody, because if I were the product manager there, I would be saying that there needs to be somebody whose job it is to monitor this dashboard and say, okay, did 1 million people collect their PVCs today? And okay, if it was only 700,000, then that means that remaining 300,000, we add them to tomorrow's tally, so we need 1.3 million people to collect. Then we ask ourselves, okay, why are they not collecting? Of the people who have not collected their PVCs, how many of them have we directly contacted? We have their phone numbers. How many of them did we reach? You know, we have our ward offices. Have our ward officers gone round? Like, have we talked to the NOA? Have we talked to the traditional rulers? Like, there needed to be a feedback process in there to drive those kinds of things. But that only happens if, as an institution and as an office, there is somebody swinging a big stick saying it's unacceptable to have anything less than 95-6% PVC collection, and if I don't get this, heads will roll inside this INEC. And you know, but that obviously didn't exist in INEC, and that's kind of why we're where we are here today.
You know, there's a debate about the registration process and whether we should even need PVCs. I'm glad that you brought up your tech experience as a product manager. I wonder what you think. Do you think we need actual cards? By the way, let me use this opportunity to remind you, Lagos, the only people who can vote tomorrow are those who have PVCs. It's unfortunate, but it is what it is. So disregard that fake news that is circulating on WhatsApp that if you have VIN and you've done capturing, you can vote. It's not true. It's a lie. Do not go to the polling units tomorrow if you don't have a PVC. The only people who can vote, only those who have PVC, they're the only ones that can vote. That plastic card, those are the only people that can vote. Now, Chief, back to my question. This debate about whether we should need PVCs, what do you think?
Well, I think I see the pros and cons, right? In actual tech terms, right? Based on the way the tech is currently set up, we shouldn't need a PVC. Because remember, the way I've been listening to your show, you talk about the whole vote accreditation and voting process. Remember that if I go to my polling unit, they can scan with the BVAS machine. They take my biometrics, either my fingerprint or my face, my facial signature, and that goes and the INEC system checks its database, and it can find me based on that biometrics, and it brings up my record there and tells the INEC officer at the unit, yes, Chief Andy Obufrobo is registered to vote here, accredit him, go ahead, right? And that's automatic. So if you notice in that entire process, I didn't need a PVC. So on paper, theoretically, we can go ahead and we do voting without PVCs. But here's where PVCs come in really, and that's in filtering before you get to the BVAS. Because imagine this scenario. We have a polling unit where 1,000 people are registered, right? Now imagine that on election day, 20,000 people show up to that polling unit, all of them insisting that they're registered to vote there. Now, if we don't have PVCs, the only way the INEC staff at that unit can determine who is really registered there is to scan all of them one by one in BVAS. And that is a nice way to overload the system and like create a bottleneck, because it will take all day. But if 20,000 people show up to the polling unit, the INEC officer can say, show me your PVC. Only 1,000 of them will be able to show a PVC that is from that unit. And so that is a filter to enable to reduce time wasting. So that if you were to ask me as a product manager and as a process designer, I would say that that's the one area where we could need the PVC, but there are, I'm sure, ways around that.
Okay, we'll come back to you in a bit. Lagos, we want to hear your thoughts as well, but we have to take a break right now. When we come back from this break, share your thoughts on some of the things that Chief Oboforibo and I have spoken about just now. And of course, if you have questions, you can also ask. We'll do our best to answer those questions. I'm Sandra Ezekwesili. This is the Big Three Global Edition on Hard Facts. Yes, the biggest story on the globe, as far as I'm concerned, Nigeria's elections tomorrow. And that's what we're talking about on today's Big Three. Don't go away. When we come back, I have a few more questions. So, for instance, you have these opinion polls that became a very big thing this election. I'm curious to hear what Chief thinks is the reason behind the popularity of these polls now. Why were we suddenly paying attention to polls after the break?
The race is on, and Nigerians will decide. People's voice and verdict.
They are not going to the ward. Nobody is collecting from any ward. I have been in a polling unit where the INEC officials, the party agents, and the voters are all complicit.
Citizens and their mandate.
People don't really know. Nigerians don't really know what governance is.
They have described the process. It's really very seamless. I would want to believe that everyone will take advantage of this opportunity.
Nigeria Info Election Day Studios presents The Mandate 23. Minute-by-minute election day coverage, 36 states and the FCT. Sheriff Quadri, Jimmy Disu, Ireti Bakare, Marian Okon, Joyce Oyemua, Sandra Ezekwesili, and Ufoma Egbamno with data analysis in real time. Date, Saturday, February 25th and Sunday, February 26th. Join the conversation live from 5 a.m. The Mandate 23. It's a marathon.
This is what goodness tastes like. Golden caramel, creamy buttermint, and rich coffee. There's a Cadbury candy for every moment.
Introducing Cadbury Caramel Candy, Cadbury Coffee, and your favorite Cadbury Buttermint candies. Now there's lots more to share and enjoy.
What is radio to you on a Friday night?
Hold that thought.
It's fun, goofy, and pure vibes all the way. Happening on the lounge with Feta.
You know what happens on the lounge stays on the lounge, right?
Sure, why not?
It's typical radio on a Friday night with your girl, Feta, the Dynamo.
Let's go.
There is a new show on radio.
It's a town hall.
Is it different?
Oh, yeah.
Let's talk about everything you like, giving pure undiluted vibes on a Friday night, just the way you like it. Starting Friday and every other Friday, 9 p.m. to 12 midnight, only on 99.3 Nigeria Info.
Book a ride on Anaya to move around Lagos. From Lekki to Oshodi, from anywhere to everywhere. Try Anaya and you won't go back to your old ways of moving around Lagos. Hurry and download Anaya app today and get your first ride for free using the promo code First Ride. Anaya, ANAYER. The power to move.
These 2023 general elections, the party will go pay me plenty money. Now I go vote for. Even if them share foodstuffs join, I go let's go cook for my family.
After all, vote no kukuma the count. Now who them want to name go enter power?
Vote buying and selling. Now electoral offense we fit land person for prison. No go chop you and your family future because of food and money. Wetin go gonna happen in the next 4 years? And even say vote they count. If you know they count, why your politicians no go they beg you to sell your vote? If you sell your vote, no go they expect regular power supply, security, better medical care, or even good job or correct educational system.
Madam.
Not true. Now our vote we go take pursue poverty. Come out for our land. No sell your vote. This message now from KK Analytics for real democratic change.
Sincerely, I don't want to wait till I graduate from this school before I think of what to do with my life.
Exactly. I am going to seriously work on my music skills. Let me use my talent well, I beg.
I would like to be a radio presenter, but I don't know how to go about it. But why is Timmy so quiet today?
Sorry, ladies. I'm taking this interesting course on how to become a professional scriptwriter. You too can also learn how to become a radio presenter on Wazobia Academy.
Wazobia Academy?
Yes, Wazobia Academy provides accessible and affordable online training in filmmaking, music business, fashion, radio hosting, and lots more. You also stand a chance to be selected for internship in leading production companies, radio stations, music, and fashion studios for hands-on experience. It's easy. Simply log on to www.wazobiaacademy.com or call 0908-826-5038 for more details.
Wazobia Academy. Learn and lead.
NS
Oga, wetin happen? I don send a go market. Abi dey owe you money.
Oga Pharmacy, no be your boy I dey call jare. I dey ask for NS liver salt. Ogbonge medicine wey dey comot any yamayama discomfort for person belle, whether na heartburn, constipation or even indigestion o. NS liver salt get lemon, orange and other correct flavors. With NS liver salt, belle go dey balance. Oya Oga Pharmacy, sama me one make I go enjoy.
NS liver salt, the ogbonge medicine where they make your belle kulele. Rush and Tiny Pharmacy, go buy your own now.
Group D of the I Beg to Differ Tournament of Champions promises fierce battles between three exciting debaters. Olaloye Toluwalashe dazzled us last May, but was stopped by Hamid Olarawaju. If he wants to settle that score, he'll need to emerge from this group. But will Stephanie Amber let him? The August runner-up is here to prove she could have won it all. But to be the girl, she has to beat the girl. Esther Bewaji's fans will love that Group D debates on Thursdays because they say Thursdays are for legends. She smashed scoring records on her cruise to the championship in May, and all that is left between her and the three other champions are the two challengers in this group. This March, it's the I Beg to Differ Tournament of Champions on 99.3 Nigeria Info FM and Wazobia Max TV.
99.3 Nigeria Info, your number one station for talk. Let's talk.
Lagos, I'm Sandra Ezekwesili. You're listening to Hard Facts on 99.3 Nigeria Info. Joining us virtually is Chief Andy Oboforibo, who is, having a conversation with us about tomorrow's elections. Like I said, tomorrow's elections, the biggest news on the globe as far as I'm concerned. And before the break, we talked about the ways that these elections have been different from previous elections. We talked about the credit for the largest number of registered voters that Nigeria has ever had. That's what we've had this period. We talked about the fire that INEC has had to deal with as a result of some lapses with their processes. And before the break, we were talking about PVCs and whether we actually need those plastic cards. Now, Chief Oboforibo says, as a tech guy, we may be able to vote without the cards. However, the cards serve as a filter, like a filtering measure, to help INEC more effectively do their jobs. My question to follow up with that, just before we move on to opinion polls, is it's difficult for me to believe that if other countries have figured out how to do these things without a visible card, and it's not complicated for the election umpire or the electoral umpire, we may be able to figure out how to do it. And if those 20,000 people troop to the polling unit and claim, "Oh, I'm registered to vote here," there's still a filtering process that doesn't disenfranchise as many people who have been disenfranchised from voting this period. Because I'm thinking about my callers who were calling me throughout the registration and PVC collection process, who would say things to me like, "Oh, my PVC was not found. They told me they will reprint it, etc., etc." These people have essentially been made unable to vote through no fault of their own. They did everything they were supposed to do. They showed up when they were supposed to show up. But because of INEC's own inadequacy, they are unable to perform their civic duty, their civic right, Now, of course, if they didn't need those tiny little cards, they could still be able to perform that civic duty. So isn't there a different type of filtering mechanism that INEC could deploy that limits the number of people who have been disenfranchised from this process at the moment?
I think Yeah, and I 100% agree with you on the tragedy and the fact that it's unacceptable that people who were willing to vote were unable to vote simply because the INEC couldn't give them their PVCs in time, and INEC won't let them vote without their PVCs. Now, I don't think the answer is necessarily another filtering mechanism.
Okay.
Let us accept that we need a filtering mechanism. Let's assume rather that we need a filtering mechanism, and let's assume for even a moment that the PVC is the best one for filtering. But as a great man once said, Jesus Christ, the Sabbath was made for man, not man for the Sabbath.
Okay.
The PVC was made for the voter, not the voter for the PVC.
Okay.
So the PVC is needed for filtering, right? But imagine a scenario where, again, 20,000 people show up to a polling unit where only 1,000 people are registered, right? INEC says, okay, show us your PVCs, right? Only 500 of the legit voters in that place have a PVC, for example. Okay, INEC prioritize those 500, right? Then the other 500, they are mixed up with the others. But eventually they will get there. They will be able to vote because the biometrics will scan them. Then the voter knows that, okay, you know what? I should have had my PVC. I didn't have it. I still got to vote, but it was more inconvenient than the guys who had their PVC. So that's one layer of doing it. Another layer of doing it is simply that if it was a punishable offense within INEC, I don't mean a crime, but I mean it's something that a source of you didn't meet your KPI, you failed in your duty.
You would lose your job. You get sanctioned.
If at ward level, the PVC there are uncollected PVCs at ward level, and there was a sanction for that, we would have uncollected PVC.
Wouldn't that lead to people? Wouldn't that lead to people throwing PVCs inside bush and inside canals?
Well, there's a very simple way to resolve that. The same BVAS machine that authenticates the voter at voting should be used at PVC collection to authenticate that I'm the actual person who picked up my PVC.
Well, we did had stories of people picking up other people's PVCs so that they'll be able to go and deliver those PVCs to them at their homes. Where does your scenario meet that scenario, or my scenario meet that scenario?
Oh, well, if I'm the product manager on that, and I love being the product manager on things like that, well, I have in the past built an app that uses facial recognition on a phone. So, for example, imagine if beyond the layer of BVAS machines, INEC now had also a PVC collection app that could be used, given to extension workers who, at the end of PVC collection, are now going into communities, and there's too many of them to give them the viewers machines, but they have the app on their phone, and they come to Sandra Ezekwesili's house, and as they're giving you your PVC, they use the phone to scan you and do your facial rec, and it confirms that it's you, and then you snap the collection and you move on. Like, there's so many ways you can do this. So INEC shouldn't act like, there are lots of smart tech people out there. Hire them or contract them, but don't pretend like we don't have the solution.
Alex will get along with you, because Alex is always talking about how tech is actually the way to solve a lot of our problems, but INEC likes to pretend like the tech doesn't exist, and so they are rolling out the tech small, as if anything will break if they roll all the tech out all at once, so that we can have decent elections. Because there's no reason why, for instance, we're using electronic transmission of results at the polling unit level, but there'll still be manual collation of results at collation centers, according to INEC at least. Like, that was just that seems to me like something that could be a feature, not a bug. But maybe I'm a conspiracy theorist. What do you think?
Well, so first of all, I 100% agree with Alex. Anytime she says that, or when she calls in, I will smile, because yes, that's something I believe in. A lot of our solutions, not all, but a lot of them a lot of our problems rather can be improved or even solved by tech. Now, yes, INEC tends to be very incremental in its application of technology. I see that there are both good reasons and bad reasons for that. The bad reasons are the stuff you talk about. Yes, it could be a feature, not a bug. It could simply be that there's a lot of dinosaurs within INEC and within the system. There's a lot of so there's a lot of that. So that's one. Two, but and on the good side, right, you have things. INEC is also concerned.
Okay.
INEC, one, wants to make sure that the technology works very well and doesn't break. That's one, right? And because if the technology breaks, people get disenfranchised, or people have the opportunity to shout Ojuru, Ojuru, like we saw in 2015 with the card readers, for example. Like, you don't want to handle that kind of a problem. That's why INEC often uses Osun, Ekiti, Edo, those off-cycle elections to try out some new tech. You know, so I think that is responsible and prudent on INEC's part. The second reason why is that INEC is also looking at the politicians like this. Like, INEC is just a big, because the thing is this, INEC is there, like, you know, God works hard, the devil works harder. INEC is there planning to do things and roll out these technologies. INEC is not seeing all the ways that a politician can use this technology to rig or to affect results, etc. So, so look at Beavers, for example. Beavers just came out. Already we have like court cases with very interesting results, very interesting judgments. Now imagine if Beavers rolled out at the same time as electronic collation. Like, so instead of now just one set of unknowns, you're now dealing with two. But now, by the end of this election cycle, INEC would have seen all the unknowns. And when I say unknowns, I mean all the wicked ways politicians can rig using Beavers. So now, INEC can now fortify Beavers. Then, so by the next cycle, let's say they're adding electronic collation, then they're only worried about, well, what surprise is waiting for us with electronic collation? They're not worried about that and Beavers at the same time. So I think there's some prudence there.
Well, Chief and I will keep talking tomorrow at 6 p.m. after hopefully voting is done in most places. And some of these issues we'll keep talking about. I've got a few messages on WhatsApp. Let's take a look at them. Kunle Rotimi, I thank you for the message you sent to me. Very brilliant message. However, Kunle, I'm not going to read this message on this air. Thank you and God bless you. We've got a Fendi Mendieta. Kunle sent me a message. You know how people will send proverbs, I think. So they send you proverb like this. Proverb that is very sweet and my body is pinching me to read it. However, by the time I read this proverb, the people that it is targeted at will know that it is targeted at them. And before you know what's happening, one person will now use it to come and winch me and say, you use backdoor to campaign for somebody. So Kunle, I thank you. I love you, but I'm not reading that message. Thank you very much. Fendi Mendieta in Austin, Texas says, can you see a future where we can have early and diaspora voting in our elections like we have in the US? Will it require Electoral Act amendments? My guess is yes. However, I would like him to touch on that, please. We have just 1 minute and a few seconds before Ayobe will kick me out to bring you ideas. So I'm gonna carry that question over to tomorrow from 6 p.m. when Chief and I will be back on air to talk about that. Here's a message that says, please, voters should remember that their ballot paper can be rejected if they do not thumbprint clearly on the space for the required party. If after accreditation the ballot paper is not stamped and signed by the presiding officer, if the voter forgets to thumbprint on a particular ballot paper and drops it in the box, if the voter writes on their ballot paper instead of voting, so please try not to make your ballot paper invalid in your polling unit. Calm down and vote. Thank you very much for that message. Benjamin Nikoyi says, many people went to different collection centers to collect their PVC but couldn't. Someone later called them and brought it for them, not INEC staff. Did INEC authorize them to do so? What happens? That's what happened at Etiosa, Benjamin. Well, INEC worked with a few people during the collection process, so maybe they did, maybe they didn't. I don't know. I don't work for INEC. However, Ayobe is here to bring you ideas. When she's done, we'll bring you Hard Facts Awards. Chief, thank you so much for your time on the show today. See you tomorrow at 6, yes?
See you tomorrow, Sandra.
All right, Lagos, I'll be right back. Don't go away.
Hello, my name is Abdul. My friends ask me how I stay updated with current happenings around me.